Hello and welcome to the video. We are another week into my Cars of Our Past group build project, which is a 1964 Impala two-door hardtop, which was my first car that I'm trying to replicate. This week has mainly been about rust and so forth, but again, the frame is just still mocked up with Mod Podge. We'll have to get that broke apart, get some things finished off and glued back in. Biggest thing, next biggest challenge I guess, will be creating the rust. Most guys' rusty cars that I've seen, I've looked at to try to get a handle on this, has been a really, I don't know, brownish, reddish rust, where this car was more of a kind of a gravel, dust, light rust. So that'll be the next biggest project, is trying to recreate that appearance. But moving on to some more rust. Again, we started chewing up the body, getting the rust going on the body. Again, my car lowers are rotting out. She had some bubbles going here. Otherwise, it was a straight car, but she was just kind of rotting away from the underneath. And that's what we're trying to replicate. And we got this lower going, a few more rust holes. They were kind of replicated of what the car had. And I just managed to do that by taking the Dremel small grinder bit and just chewing away on the inside. A lot like real rust. Just start on the inside and work your way to the surface, and then I think that'll create some really nice kind of thin edges, rough jagged edges, and then we'll do some more rust treatments after paint to finish those off. But I'm pretty happy with the way that that is looking there. The main project this week has been working on the floor pans. We'll go underneath first, as it's a little less. We just kind of went around, beat up some of these braces, chewed them up like the real car, starting to rot out under those braces, make it look less perfect underneath. There you can see some of the rust and beat up from underneath. And then we'll get to the top side where most of our work was going. Again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just doing it and trying to create something. I do have a bagged up kit here yet to show you what we kind of started with and where we're at. You can see we covered up some voids and gave some texture and detail to the underside. I just used some thick aluminum foil, tried to transfer those stampings to the top side so we open the trunk, it wasn't just a smooth flat floor. They didn't go as well as I would have hoped. I kind of had to redo them. I should have waited and resanded and redid it, but I just you kind of get in the groove and you just keep going. But hopefully with some primer and some, speckled paint, it'll look okay and at least look appropriate underneath. And we had to add this tray here to cover that big gas tank void. Again, wasn't really trying to copy the trunk, but just make something that looked realistic. And then we added the upper brace here to give us a nice look. So it looks good if you're kind of sticking your nose down in that trunk. It all looks appropriate, at least and the rust kind of going along, following kind of what the car had. Maybe not exactly, but we're telling the story as best as we can. So that has been the major project, and I think we are ready for primer and maybe our trunk paint or whatever. So hopefully that is later here in this video, and you can see the progress there. Okay, we're back with the next day after the first part of the video. We do have some primer on some things. This is Mr. Hobby 1500 for the airbrush. We did a couple coats along where that we did all of our sanding, and that actually looks pretty good as it is. Just a nice wet sand to smooth it off. I think we'll be ready for some color. I don't see any major issues. A few little spots, but I think that'll be fine with the sand and color. You can see the rust again coming through that black. Of course, we did the firewall and deck lid. Looking pretty good. Might have to address this spot here where I took the SS script off. Looks like there's a little bit of a spot there. And of course the hood we primed, and we also added a little bit of funky warp where we had that carb fire on the real car. So we'll get that going there. And onto the rusty floorboards. We added basically red oxide, and then we kind of miscoated. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can kind of see it. With some lighter browns and tans to give a couple of different shades of rust. But I'm going to do it. Like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying. But we're kind of getting our rust base here, and then we will kind of do some salting and chipping methods and put that kind of lighter coat over, and then just have that rust poking through in spots. So I think that'll give us our look, hopefully. And then of course we'll add over dust and dirt along the way. Wheel wells. I did put a shot of gray primer over the back just to see how that was going to look. It's looking okay. Obviously not as perfect as I would like it, but again, we'll get some dirt and grime in there, and I think it'll still tell us the story that we needed to tell. And there's that. And we kind of did the same thing with the chassis. Just that kind of a rusty red oxide. Speckled some other tones in there, so when it pokes through, it's not all a singular tone. Then we'll also add more rust on the top side after the other coloring goes on. But there we are. So far, I think I'll do some salting and chipping in this video, and then we'll call it an update. See you in a few. Okay, here we are post salt and chipping. Take a look. It turned out okay. Not exactly what I was hoping for. But again, I don't know what I'm doing, and I think it'll be fine. We'll start adding some more layers on top of this with some different techniques and grit, grime, junk, etc. to just add on to this base layer. We just use some spray cans again, Elmer's glue for chipping fluid, and some table salt to give us some different spots. But sort of tried using some light colors again, like I wanted to get that more sandy and grit. The floor paint, I did add some gold metallic to kind of match that original body color of the car, if that's kind of what was giving us some of that lighter coloring. But I guess this is where we're at, and can build on this. Again, it's not exactly what I'd hoped for, but it's not the worst thing. It wouldn't be such a big deal if I wasn't trying to match something that I have an exact picture of. If I was just making something happen, then it wouldn't be no big deal. But again, we'll build on with this and go from there. Of course, it is underneath the car, and you're rarely ever going to get to see that. And then we got some of the suspension and steering. Did some different kind of coloring of that rust. I think I used like 3 or 4 different colors of spray cans. Just kind of speckled it on there, and then the chipping and salting to add some more definition. And then we'll get into doing the speckled paint in the trunk area as well as in the quarters of the car. Then probably work on some trim on the car, and then we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so it looks like we're turning this into a 2-week update. I forgot to finish off last week's video and get it out over the weekend. No big deal. I kind of got distracted and never finished off what I was doing with the frame rusting and all that. So that is exactly where it was last week. We'll get back to that soon. Again, same with the floor pan. I guess we did add our black front fender wells. I might do a little bit more chipping just up underneath, get it a little dirtier. But there you can see not much else has changed. One big thing I guess has changed is that we did get our trunk paint in. That kind of gray speckled pattern, got it up into the quarters. I'm really happy with the way that that's turned out. Gives us a nice base. Kind of trying to create everything new and then beating it up from there. So we'll work on that. And kind of pop this out. Give you another look. Again, just spray paint, speckled patterned, 3 or 4 different colors. And that's where we're at. with the floor pan. The body, haven't touched anything. I think I left off with going to be doing the trim, but I decided to pick up some new glue. That should be coming in early next week to work on that trim. It's a slow setting super glue. After doing those trunk pans and not being super happy with it, I wish I would have waited for, you know, a slow set super glue for those as well. So I decided to hold off on that because that's a super thin trim that I need to set in a straight line, so it can't be too quick, but I also want it to hold really well. Obviously don't want it to fall off while we're going here. So that's all far we've gotten there. All of the parts have now at least gotten primer or coloring. We got a few different blacks there. We got our engine colored up in orange and aluminum. A couple things re-chromed. I think we've seen those suspension parts in the other segment. Again, nothing with the body panels. The big thing this week was interior and chrome. We've seen a couple of chrome parts, and then we've re-chromed the bumpers. This is an all-clad. It turned out okay. And we've got the front grille re-chromed with the all-clad. Then we'll kind of dull out this kind of aluminum pan and maybe some in the grill. But I think that turned out pretty well. Then we do have our engine accessories re-chromed or chromed. Got our oil pan and front cover. We got those chrome back out so we can move along with the engine and those pieces, and then we'll talk about the interior in just a second here. Okay, I just want to get those chrome parts out of the way, as that chrome can be kind of delicate. They do have like the front lip and a couple other pieces chromed as well. But kind of the other big story is we moved on to the interior. And I think we've got this going in the right pattern. Obviously I have to chrome up all of our knobs and buttons and do some maybe some panel washing in that vent grill. I think we got a nice color, that saddle brown color that this car had. Lots of different colors. Again, the dash was kind of a couple different colors. Those are pretty good representations there. Same with the steering wheel. Mine had a cover on it, but I think we're looking pretty good. Again, have to get all the chrome done, and the seats, I'm really happy with the way that they're coming along. Again, these aren't the exact seats, but I think they're gonna make a really good representation. I think we got a good enough pattern on there. I'm like 95% happy with these. It's hard to see, but it's a little soft on the pattern down in the crack. Must have lifted a little bit, but you're gonna have to look pretty hard down into the car, I think, to see those. And I think that is a nice pattern there. Again, a few more details on that interior, and we'll be going from there. But other than that, thanks for watching.